Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. So, I'm going to talk about vibrational forces in architecture, sound and light specifically. Vibrational forces such as audible and inaudible mechanical vibration, which is sound, and electromagnetic oscillation, which is light, should be considered fundamental elements in design of architecture because they exert an extreme impact on the physiological and psychological health of the human beings. How does this happen and why? There are many researchers undertaken by microbiologists and also in the field of neuroscience that delve into the topic. And it's through the application of this knowledge that we can really define a new paradigm for architecture. First of all, we have to define sound and light. As you can read, one is a vibration that propagates as an acoustic wave through a medium, and the other one is electromagnetic radiation of waves, which are synchronized oscillation of electric and magnetic fields. So they're both waves. And this is very relevant because there are two physical energies that are vibrational energies, and the whole world as we know it is the manifestation of vibrational energies on every level. Everything, you, the universe, the floor, everything is vibrational energy. On one side of the scale, we have the first picture of the universe. It was taken 378,000 years after the Big Bang by ESA Planck telescope, and it allowed NASA researchers to discover that out of the initial chaos, one single low frequency tone set into motion the plasma cloud and started to create the galaxies and the universe as we know it today. On the other hand of the scale, the micro scale, we have the theory of strings, for example, which states that at our most subatomic level, we are all made of one-dimensional strings whose vibrational frequencies I lost my voice. Whose vibrational frequencies define the laws of physics. And if we want to have an even clearer idea of how vibrations relate to matter, then we can go and check cymatics. So cymatics is a subset of modal vibrational phenomena. The leading exponent of this movement was Hans Jenny. He was a physicist and did a lot of experiments around the 1950s. And basically, these experiments are made with a plate and an oscillator that emits sounds, and then some powder, which is normally sand, but it can be liquids, can be other things. And basically, when the sound hits the plate, then the powder starts to move, and it sets at the nodal points where there are the points of zero movement. So what you see here is basically a 2D image of what the 3D-dimensional sound wave would look like. So basically, sound really holds matter together and keeps it together in the form we see and experience every day. There is a documentary that Hans Jenny did, and I'm going to show just 1 minute of it, and I'm going to quote him before starting the recording because it's really special. If you spare a little your imagination as you watch this film, you will see living forms, living amoeba, almost animal-like creatures. You will see continents being formed, the earth itself come into existence, explosions and eruptions. Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
We use sand and lycopodium. The lycopodium moves to the center of the fields and takes up circular shapes. The sand forms the lines. Each material has its own special way of behaving. lycopodium alone, a sonorous figure, transition to a mobile flowing phase, and back again to the figure. The sonorous figures represent stationary waves, but now we can also observe moving waves. Here, the sand is flowing in a current.
So why are vibrational forces relevant to us? Because they define the laws of physics, they define our world, and we are part of our world, and we are interactive players inside this system. We are very well tuned to do so, and this happens on many levels. There have been many studies that showed the impact of light on our body, for example. Of course, depending on the intensity, the color, the direction, the time of the exposure, we have different physiological response in our body. And the same happens with sound, with the sense of hearing. Because imagine our ears have 3 times more neural connection to the brain than the eyes. So we can perceive from 20 to 20,000 hertz, which is 10 octaves of sound, while the visual comparison is just 2 octaves. And then, of course, we have the acoustic discipline and psychoacoustics that started to study the impact of sound that sound has on us. We all feel that certain sounds are very disturbing and other ones leads us to paradise. So to talk about the extremes, there are infrasounds, which are lower than 20 hertz, that are used like military weapons by certain countries because they create a great sense of anxiety. They allow the masses not to gather together. They create anxiety, headaches, stomach aches. The same happens with infrasounds, and the same happens with sounds as well, because over a certain volume, 85 decibels, for example, then you start to experience hearing loss. I wanted to go deeper, and I started to research microbiology. The researches I'm going to show, they're conducted mainly by this famous microbiologist and doctor that is Carlo Ventura. And what has been discovered lately is that basically every cell of our body, every cell of our body vibrates, and it has an inherent vibration. This vibration happens at a subcellular and cellular level. And not only all our cells vibrate, but they also communicate through vibration. Here you see a cell of the human skin cell that is moving around an obstacle, guided solely by a pulsating light. At the end, when the cell reaches the light, it also extends to touch it. How does this happen? How is this possible? It is possible because all our cells are composed by a net of microtubules. Microtubules can really be envisioned like a fabric, and this fabric constantly oscillates. And this oscillation is of 3 types: mechanical, electrical, and luminous. Mechanical is sound, electromagnetic is luminous, so it's like sound and light. Sound and light are the 2 elements that allow the cells to communicate, to move, to vibrate, to be who they are or what they are. So Carlo Ventura, with other researchers, have discovered that our cells have a bioelectric circuit that works through vibrational signals. On top of that, they also patented a system to measure the vibration of each cell. Every cell has a vibrational code, specific type of vibration, and they measure it through an atomic force microscope that measures the vibration that happens on the membrane of the cell, the surface. And basically, through this vibration, they can detect what the cell is, what it does, its state of health. And thanks to the microtubules that I talked before, vibrational dynamics, structural change within the cell and the whole system can be induced. Because if you think at the spider and a net, a web net, then you see, for example, when a mosquito falls into the net, the whole net vibrates. It's the same principle. One vibration just transmits to the rest. And this is how the cell communicate. So when they discovered every cell has a vibrational code, they thought, okay, how can we transmit the information of one cell to another one? Is this possible? They did an experiment that was successful. Basically, on one hand, on the left, we have a human cardiac cell, a fibroblast, and on the other hand, we have a human fat stem cell. The fat stem cell was subjected by actuators to a series of electromagnetic and mechanical vibrations, so light and sound, of a typical myocardiac cell, so a heart cell vibrational code. And after 2 weeks, the fat cell turned into a myocardiac cell. I'm going to show you the video.
Ogni puntino è una cellula. Dopo esposizione di morfina B per una settimana, vedete, avevamo generato un microcuore battente in vitro. Ma la cosa per noi più sorprendente era che la stessa cosa, vedete, si poteva fare esponendo le cellule a un campo elettromagnetico.
Also beats, becomes a heart. So the transformative power of these vibrational energies is quite unbelievable. And of course, this opens up new horizons in the field of medicine, because you can start to think of regenerative medicine, of regenerating tissues, how, when this has just been discovered, so there is a long way. But this is how much light and sound influence us. And this is characteristics, these are qualities that we have to take seriously into account in the world of architecture. Quoting Carlo Ventura again, which is the man that you just saw talking, he said, "Sound, light, and color have always been fundamental elements of artistic expression. It is therefore evident how artistic manifestation can trigger the deepest dynamic of our biology." Sound, light, and color can trigger the deepest dynamic of our biology, and this is what art is based upon. And of course we know it. Buildings are huge, resonant spaces. They are instruments. Look at this room. If I would sing here, it would sound amazing. Zumthor says it before me, of course. Listen. Interiors are like large instruments collecting sound, amplifying it, and transmitting it elsewhere. Talking about light instead, I use the words of Le Corbusier. Architecture is the masterly, correct, and magnificent play of masses brought together in light. But of course, where are we today? We are still here a little bit. So we find still ourselves very often as inmates in this large, rationalized spatial mechanism that cares little about the needs of the human being. And this started in the 18th century with Bentham and the Panopticon, when the society was mad over having control over people. And there it was initiated a type of architecture that is oculocentric. Oculos means eye, so centered on the visual stimuli. A series of authors have drawn a critique over the oculocentric society, on oculocentric architecture, and all of these books that I read, the authors, of course, put so much energy to just promote multisensory and more humanistic approach. Philosophy, anthropology, aesthetics, psychology, neuroscience, those are the disciplines on which these architectural theories promoted in these books are based on. And applying the knowledge derived from them, would really propose a shift into the current vision and open up a crucial discourse between us and the natural world. How to do that? How do we create those type of spaces? I like to talk about resonance spaces. What is resonance? Resonance comes from Latin, resonare, again, sonare, to sound. So, to sound again is the intensification of sound, not only sound, vibration produced by sympathetic oscillation. Therefore, what are resonance spaces? They're responsive places, able to resonate, to sympathetically dialogue with those who inhabit it, the ones that makes you feel at the center of the space. We have many examples of this in the past. I just took few banal ones, but of course the theaters, the Greek theaters, they are placed in the landscape in the most perfect position that had the best view. They are oriented so they get the best light at a certain time of the day when the play would be played. Then they are made following the golden proportions, so that acoustically they would work even better. The materials are also thought so that the acoustics could be perfect for the type of function that they host. And the same with chapels and cathedrals. In this case, the light is very playful thanks to the color that come from the glass. And the proportions also allow the voices to just become super choral and divine. Here I want to show you this Battistero of San Giovanni in Pisa. It's an analysis done by the architect Shea Teran. This is an example of resonant space in a very acoustic sense of the word, because I'm going to show you the video and then I'm going to explain. You can listen to this man singing, and it just will sound like many more voices at once. So how does this work? Is again geometry, material, proportions. There are concentric rings. There are more rings in this building, and basically the sounds just bounces back and forward, but sometimes remains trapped between the first ring and the second ring, and then. Of course, there is a beautiful resonating chamber and a vault that helps the sound to resonate in this way. So far, to sum up, we have vibrational forces such as sound and light, and we can take care of these two design elements by paying attention to geometry, proportions, materials, and scientific knowledge. In this way, we can create connection with the external environment and nature. We can create enhancement of function because you feel present in space, you feel where you should be, and what you're going to do is just going to be enhanced by the space itself. And then sensory synesthesia. This creates resonant architecture, which benefits us on a psychological and physiological level. The second part of the lecture, I want to present some of my personal work. This is a work that is called The Sound of Etna. It's a sensorial pavilion that is designed and located on the slopes of Volcano Etna. And it is designed to make the inaudible infrasonic voice of Etna's perceivable through sight and touch. Because Etna, since the mythology, has a great singing talent. It has a lot of infrasonic activity that happens always before volcanic eruption, during volcanic eruption, after volcanic eruptions, and infrasounds are inaudible. And therefore, I worked to make this perceivable. With some engineers, I developed a formula that is able to make the space resonate. So the space is a long underground space excavated in the mountain, constituted by metal sheets that are dimensioned to resonate with the infrasonic frequency of the volcano. So if you imagine to be in the space underground in the darkness, and then the infrasonic activity occurs, you will start to feel the metal sheets vibrating almost on your shoulders, and then see the dim light flickering on top of these metal sheets. And in this way, I create a space that is a throat, and then the metal sheets are the vocal cords, and Etna can sing out loud. I want to make you hear a little composition that I did through the recordings that I obtained from the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology in Catania, and the translation of the sounds into some programs that made Etna play the piano. The second project I'm going to briefly mention is called Hit the Beat. It's a project that won a Swiss engineering prize, and it's located in the city of Chiasso, which is in Switzerland, at the border with Italy. It's the requalification of the train station area of the city, and basically it's a public space. There are some parks, a cafeteria, event hall, station, and then the two main buildings are at the end and the beginning of the plot. And one, it's a sound art master school for experimental arts, and the other one is and production and music production. And the other one is a concert hall. This one is a concert hall for experimental arts. And basically, the main approach of this project was to open up to sound, because Chiasso is a very noisy city. It has the sounds and the noise is coming from the railway and from the infrastructure of the highway. And instead of closing up to the sounds and creating a very introverted project, I decided to open up. And therefore, the parks become sounds park with instruments that collect environmental sounds and then ejects it to the visitors. The buildings, as you can see here, they're machine-like buildings that are very transparent and light, that provide more points of connections at different heights, so that you can be connected with the air and with the noises of the city. And the idea was really to make Chiasso, this city, an open-air sound library for music creation. I also composed a little example of what that could be. I went on site and recorded all the sounds coming from this railway and highway, and then added some notes and voice. A little thing I designed as well in this project that I would like to mention, I decided to rethink a little bit the recording studios, which today's, especially when they're in a small size, they're the most anonymous and boring space ever, where you can record your voice, it comes out very dry, and then with the computer you make all the adjustments. And I thought, okay, let's make a floor in this tower where we have proper rooms that have an atmosphere, that have some qualities and geometries and materials, where you can create potentially infinite sounds or very dry sounds, or sounds that in an atmosphere that will help you to be creative inside those spaces. The last project I will present, and it's also the main project, it's called Temenos. Temenos is a pavilion of the arts. And it's also an experimental museum. Temenos comes from the Greek, and it means portion of sky, sacred enclosure. And it's a space that is designed to be a pause in the city, a place in which every human beings can converge their thoughts and feelings and emotion to the highest degree through a one-to-one experience with art. It's a space that basically empties itself of everything except what it is designed to contain and enhance. And it's a space that uses multimodal sensoriality and, of course, the vibrational forces of sound and light that I talked before, to reach enhanced perception and to promote well-being. How does this happen? Through sound that is here regulated through a precise soundscape, which is the studied sound of the container, which in the first realization that I'm going to show you in a second, it's inside a deconsecrated church, very reverberant space, plus the curated sound performances that were played inside and outside the space, and then through light. Light is the main topic in this project. It's regulated through a precise installation of light and orientation, and also through technical specifics of the space itself, the material, the shape, the angles. And the objective was to create a very defined outside space, and then an infinite space in the inside. To do that, I created a space that cultivates the Ganzfeld effect. The Ganzfeld effect is a phenomenon of heightened perception that is caused by exposure to an unstructured, uniform stimulation field. When this happens, neuroscientific studies show that while the brain cuts off the signal that is coming from the eye, because the eyes are not receiving anything. And therefore, the other senses amplify, and the brain waves automatically shift into alpha and theta waves, which represent the state of deep relaxation and meditation that enhances creativity, memory, self-consciousness, and well-being. When all the visual distractions are blended out, Temenos allows for introspection, prompting the observer to look without looking and to concentrate on emotions triggered by the work of art. Here, this is a photo of the interior, as well as the first one. And I wanted to read this quote by Richard Luque that is talking about Crystal Palace, but I thought it could apply well here. If we imagine one could pour air like liquid, then we have here the impression as if free air had kept a fixed form after the mold in which it was poured was taken off again. We are in a piece of cut-out atmosphere. The physical indefinition that is reached in Temenos through light design leads to the annulment of the scientific perception of space given by the hippocampal cells, in favor of a more introspective perception that happens through the mirror neurons. The mirror neurons are involved with empathy. Empathy plays a great role in perceiving art. Therefore, Temenos really aims to raise men to a new sensitivity through art. The project was first realized in 2019. It was founded by an American association, Mad Workshop, that is based in Los Angeles. And it was built in the consecrated church of near Varese in the north of Italy. And basically, Temenos extended from the vaulted ceiling and created this alluring space. 2 people would walk in at a time to enjoy their private concert. I am going to show you a small video about that. So I took the chance, of course, as I realized it, to test the space through the means of a questionnaire. It was an empirical test, of course, and I just tried to verify if actually people feel that they had their perception enhanced inside the space, how they felt before entering inside the space, while they were inside the space, and after. And it really struck me because the last question was, how would you describe yourself with one word after having been in the space? And they wrote the cutest things. Revitalized, in love, flower, light, relaxed, sun, and many, many more just repeat in this sense. So, of course, I would love to do another project, do another prototype and test it in a more scientific, in a proper scientific way, not only the empirical way. And such feelings that we read here wish to be the resulting qualities of a way of designing architecture that is able to defend the authenticity of life through the alleviation of the burdens on the contemporary individual. Temenos is a project that recognizes light and sound as fundamental design elements and exploits their potential of vibrational energies to better tune the biological body and mind to art in order to create a deeper experience of art fruition that is able to transcend the mere observation and transform the act of perceiving art into a multisensory, empathic experience. I conclude with this beautiful drawing of Bruno Taut, saying that it is through the recognition of the diffusive power of the physical energies that greatly influence our existence that the true needs of human being will be met, like Pallasma said, in a miracle able to unite the polarities of realism and paradise through architecture and art. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sofia, for this beautiful lecture.